and welcome to La Rosa Reads. I am super excited to share with all of you lovelies my experience at the Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books. Let's talk books. I am so excited for this video. It's hard to believe that the first annual Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books took place last year. I remember gathering footage and having that experience with Billy Porter as the featured author, and I feel like I blinked and here we are for the second annual Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books. I must say a special thank you to the Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books founder and all of the people who made this event possible for us book lovers. I can tell that it was fully upgraded, y'all. Like from last year to this year, the changes that were implemented were phenomenal. It made for a phenomenal experience for book lovers and authors, and it was just so amazing to see that the founder and the staff for the Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books took the survey results to heart and made changes, and then what worked, they kept the same and just enhanced it. It was a time to be had. It was an honor and a pleasure to be a part of the launch event that Friday evening, which was called Let's Get Lit. I met a wide range of book lovers and authors and poets. Ross Gay spoke, and it was such a wonderful time. I met the CEO of Carnegie Library. I met so many amazing people that I plan to stay in touch with. And of course, I got a chance to hang out with our love, Olive from A Book Olive. So after that event, I rushed home to get ready and all prepared for the festival that was taking place the next day. I woke up refreshed, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed. I had my iced coffee. I had my book tote. I had all the things I needed to make sure that it was a wonderful time at the festival. Being the planner that I am, I definitely had a list, plotted out a schedule for myself of which author talks I was going to see, which books I was going to purchase, and I have to admit, I'm also flexible as well. So while I stayed true to that schedule, I did make some adjustments here and there as the mood hit me. Here is the schedule, the booklet that kept me on track. I was excited to have this resource, and the very first event that I traveled to once I arrived was Ross Gay's keynote talk.
A painful thing made to look easy. A fiber prized for its softness, its smoothness on the skin, gathered from captive worms fed mulberry leaves. My court name was Beast, for what it's worth. And after a summer league game on the court at 10th and Lombard, where those in the know would slide through a gap in the grimace of the wrought iron gate to get in, a court that would be in time shut down in the most heinous of ways.
So as you regulars at La Rosa Reads already know, I have listened to Ross Gay's Book of Delights. So I was excited to then explore some more of his work by purchasing Inciting Joy. These are essays, and I'm looking forward to having more of Ross Gay's words of wisdom, his humor, his wit in my life. I am excited to read this, whereas with the Book of Delights, I listened to it via audiobook, which I had a chance to tell him that I enjoyed hearing his voice, and he was so delightful, pun intended. I got most of my books signed, and this one says grateful. Ross Gay makes me grateful that I've had a chance to meet him and read his work and hear him speak and recite some poetry. I can't wait to dive in, Inciting Joy. 'Cause this is thriller night. Your girl is getting into thrillers, so the next talk I ventured over to was the thriller panel, and I was excited to hear from Erin Adams and the other two panelists.
Like the horror genre is having a really fun moment. It's like having this massive resurgence, and I am entirely here for it.
I also feel like I'm most squarely situated in the mystery part of that mystery thriller suspense umbrella. No horror elements really in my work. Although I love reading horror. I can't really watch it. I'm very scaredy. But I can read it. But it's interesting, you were mentioning how your books get classified.
This is is a book that I've been thinking about purchasing or picking up in some way, shape, or form and experiencing it to its fullest, perhaps maybe during the October month. But I thought, am I ready? Because this sounds pretty intense. But with Erin Adams' talk, I said to myself, now is the time. So I picked up Jackal by Erin Adams. So Erin Adams signed my book. She was an amazing author to speak with and be in conversation with. I am a little scared, but ready for this book. It's about a Black woman by the name of Liz who doesn't have fond memories of her hometown, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which happens to be where Erin Adams is from. And so as she's grown, though, she thinks to herself, my best friend's getting married. I can go back. It will be great. But she wasn't expecting that on the night of the wedding, somewhere between dancing and dessert, the newlywed's daughter, Caroline, would disappear, leaving behind only a piece of white fabric covered in blood. As a frantic search begins with the police combing the nearby woods for Caroline, Liz is the only one who notices a pattern. A summer night, a missing girl, a party in the woods. She's seen this before. Keisha Woodson, the only other Black girl in Liz's high school, walked into the woods with a mysterious man and was later found with her chest cavity ripped open and her heart removed. Ah! So, with the evil in the forest creeping closer, Liz knows that what she must do is to find Caroline or be entirely consumed by the darkness. Yes, Jackal, I cannot wait to dive in. Or can I? We shall see. So an unexpected thing happened for your girl at the Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books. That night before at the Let's Get Lit event, I happened to run into one of my favorite booksellers, Helen, and her child, who I hate saying her child because this is a full-grown person who is amazing, Imogen, and we had a wonderful time. And while we were there, they mentioned that Crystal Marquis, the author of The Davenports, was going to be at the event. And I thought, I didn't know she was going to be at the festival, but do I have to see my girl because she is responsible for writing one of my favorite books of the year so far. Well, Helen and Imogen gave your girl the gift of being in conversation with and interviewing Crystal. I got a chance to not only have my book signed, but to meet and be in conversation with Crystal. And can I just tell you guys, she is absolutely an amazing human being. I adore her personally. I adore her as an author. I am so excited to tell you all, this was an author who exceeded my expectations for what an amazing person and delightful human being she would be in person. So, we had a chance to chat and I got my book signed and she gifted my girls and myself 3 Davenports bookmarks. It was so amazing and definitely my favorite part of the entire festival. So that chat took place at the Stories Like Me tent. That is Helen's bookstore. I highly recommend that you check it out. And she had so many YA authors and children's book authors, middle grade authors at that tent. I had a wonderful time meeting up with those individuals. And let me just say, there was one author in particular that I went a little crazy purchasing her books, Cameron Garrett. I purchased 3 of her books. The first one being Off the Record. Hey. The next one being Full Disclosure. I really don't know what these books are about yet, but they just look amazing, and the author was a delight. The third book being Friday, I'm in Love, and I'm in love with this cover, you guys. There are so many things I love about this cover. I cannot begin to describe how much I love this cover. So I got those books. All of those books were signed. And I realized I was spending so much time at the Stories Like Me tent that I was missing out on some of the things I had on my schedule. And I had to whisk away to the next thing. So I ventured over to one of the book selling areas to purchase a copy of this book, which was paired with the conversation that I planned on going to, the author talk by Laura Worrell. This is sweet, soft, and plenty of rhythm. How sexy is this cover, you guys? Unfortunately, I didn't make it to her talk because I ended up talking with so many fellow book lovers, which was perfectly fine. That's what it's all about, right? I'm not a rigid person by any stretch of the imagination. So while I was a little disappointed that I missed her talk, I definitely wanted to purchase her book, if nothing else. And I'm not even 100% sure. I've read the synopsis several times in the past. I just remember loving the synopsis and thinking it would be my vibe. So it's 2013, and Circus Palmer, a 40-year-old Boston-based trumpet player and old school ladies man, lives for his music and refuses to be tied down. Before a gig in Miami, he learns that the woman who is secretly closest to his heart, the free-spirited drummer Maggie, is pregnant by him. Ooh. Instead of facing the necessary conversation, Circus flees. Setting off a chain of interlocking revelations from the various women in his life, playa. Most notable among them is his teenage daughter, Coco, who idolizes him and is awakening to her own sexuality, even as her mentally fragile mother struggles to overcome her rejection by Circus. This sounds like a romance circus, so I'm here for it. Sad I missed the talk, but glad I picked up the book. I love my alma mater, Pitt. Hail to Pitt. I love August Wilson. I love Pittsburgh. So when you put those three things together, oh my lordy, you've got Denise LaRosa in love. So I went over to the tent setup that the University of Pittsburgh's library has set up. They have a wonderful curation of August Wilson's poetry, writings, plays. So much is happening there. I plan on visiting the Pitt Library to see all of these wonderful archived items in person. And I just thought I would share a little bit with you guys, like to give you a glimpse into what I saw at the festival. And your chatty girl, who is a social butterfly, ended up chatting with the manager of Leon Ford, and he convinced me, which didn't take much convincing at all, to pick up Leon's book, which is titled An Unspeakable Hope, Brutality, Forgiveness, and Building a Better Future for My Son. This man was shot by Pittsburgh police back in, I want to say, 2012 or 2013. The work that he's done, both inner work and work within the community and the police force since this tragic event, is to be commended. It is to be celebrated. It is to be looked at as a model for who we can be and what we can do together to make life inclusive and welcoming for everyone, and also forgiving. The way that he embodies forgiveness is just beyond my imagination, beyond what I think I'm capable of doing, and I look up to him such a great deal. I loved meeting him. I look forward to reading this book. While I was picking up Leon's book, I happened to notice this book, and I'm like, why was this not on my radar? It's titled Saying It Loud, 1966, The Year Black Power Challenged the Civil Rights Movement, by Mark Whitaker, author of Smoketown. So the Black Power movement with the Black Panthers, along with non-violent protesting, which was head up by MLK, all of these different efforts with the same goal of equality for our Black folks in the 60s really has me as a diversity practitioner, as a Black woman, so intrigued. I love hearing and reading about all facets of those movements, of the movement, different approaches to the same goal. And I look forward to reading this book. Now, why had I not planned on seeing Brendan Slocum? I have no idea, but I'm glad that I stepped into this wonderful author discussion and ended up meeting Brendan and having a great time.
It's all about perspective. You know, your perspective is going to be different from mine, and no shade to anyone in here, but I'm not seeing a lot of people who look like me in the audience right now. So my perspective is going to be unique to you guys. And in terms of the social issues and, you know, historical aspects, you're going to get a different perspective. Well, I thought I knew about this. Well, you knew about it. There you go, yeah. You know about it from your perspective. It's always interesting, and I think it's a good thing to get another another perspective on things, because it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different. And this is how we learn. And the more you know, the better off you are.
So The Violin Conspiracy is a book that I have seen. People have told me that it would be my vibe, right up my alley. And for some reason, I just hadn't picked it up yet. But after meeting Brendan, I ran to the table to purchase this book and have him sign it. And I told him, as promised, that I would dive in that day. And so he says to Denise, dive on in, all the best. I love it. I loved him and his energy. He is a delight. I am about 60 pages in, and can I just say, I am so obsessed with this book. It was actually hard for me to stop reading it and record this video because it is truly a page turner. He also has Symphony of Secrets, which is out now. I can't wait to purchase that one as well. So I had it on my schedule to see Jeanette Walls. And while I did get a chance to hear her speak for about 20 minutes or so, I had to meet Brendan. I had to hear his talk, as well as meet Kayla, the Book It Queen from Bookstagram. So she was at the author talk that Brendan was at. I did hear Jeanette Walls briefly, and I'm glad that I did. And the final culminating experience for me at the Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books, tongue twister, was the romance panel, y'all. And I definitely knew I was going to purchase some books, and that I did. Before I show you those books, you definitely have to check out and hear some of this talk. These authors were amazing. They were such an amazing trio to hear from, and the way they bounced off of each other with ideas and experiences was wonderful. I picked up some wonderful books as well, and met some wonderful people, fellow bookstagrammers and book lovers alike. So this was definitely the perfect way to end my day at the festival.
On the ninth. So it is about a woman named Alexis, who I mentioned is really shy, introverted. She's a librarian, so she's very bookish. She has always preferred her adventure and drama and intrigue to unfold in books because it's a lot more manageable and safe. But her last boyfriend told her that she was a dud in bed. That she was, not adventurous, not spicy. So she has really taken this to heart and decided she is going to revamp. So instead of being like, well, you suck, she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. So I'm gonna go revamp my life. She goes out, she's gonna have her very first one-night stand.
So I purchased 2 books of Vanessa Riley's. The first in her series, that is, Rogues and Remarkable Women. Oh, yes! So I had never heard of this series. This one is the first book in the series, titled A Duke, the Lady, and a Baby, which New York Times says is smart and witty, the perfect historical read. Oh, Julia Quinn says that. Hello. I know really nothing about this book other than I love the author and I love the cover, so I'm here for it. So a West Indian heiress, Patience Jordan, questioned her English husband's mysterious suicide. She lost everything: her newborn son Lionel, her fortune, and her freedom. Falsely imprisoned, she risked her life to be near her child. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there because we've got murder, we've got romance, we've got loss, we've got quite the wild ride. I cannot wait to dive in. And this is the book of Vanessa Riley's that I have been looking most forward to picking up, and it is Island Queen. She has the sequel coming up later this summer, so I want to hurry up and dive into this one before picking up that sequel, of course. So I think she is such a versatile author. The way she was describing her over 20 books that she's written, they're so different, but yet all of them just seemed like books that I would absolutely love. So I can't wait to dive into these 2 reads. Last but certainly not least, we have not one, but 2 books by Ashley Winstead. I fell in love with this author. Her vibe was everything. And when she was talking about her books, I love how unassuming she was, and she was just talking about them, but they were so flippin' appealing. Fool Me Once is the first book in the series, and Second Chances are for suckers. So it's a second chance romance. we have sisters. We have one sister that's a little spicy, meaning like, a little sassy. One sister who's a pleaser. I believe it's the sassy sister whose love story we're following in this one. And then her most recent book, the follow-up to Fool Me Once, is the softer sister's love story, which is titled The Boyfriend Candidate. When she was talking, she being Ashley Winstead, was talking about this book and like describing it, I literally had to like glue myself to the chair because I wanted to pop up before the talk was over and purchase it. It sounds so fun, so romantic, so like Lifetime movie-ish, which I love. A shy school librarian, Alexis Stone, is comfortable keeping out of the spotlight, but when she's dumped for being too meek in bed, she decides she needs a change. And what better way to kickstart her new, more adventurous life than her first one-night stand? Enter Logan, the gorgeous foul-mouthed stranger she meets at a hotel bar. Now, I do remember what Ashley said about Logan. So they are about to have this one-night stand. The hotel catches on fire. They run out of the hotel. Cameras are just like the paparazzi is going crazy because Logan is running for office, some kind of office. I don't even remember what office, but it is significant enough that she being Alexis, gets thrown into the spotlight. And, the rest of the story is in the book. So you and I have to read it. All right, so let's summarize and compare last year's Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books to this year's. What worked this year that was a little different is everything took place at one location, the Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, as opposed to different spots in East Liberty. So everything was all in one place. There were indoor events and outdoor events. I loved that. And I loved the authors last year. Billy Porter was like clearly the star. And after Billy Porter, there were a lot of local authors, and I'm not talking down on them at all, but you could tell this was a festival that was just getting started and was really trying to pull in authors to participate. This year's author lineup was like definitely leveled up. We have authors who I've seen their books and their images all on social media and have really been successful and well known. And the way they were so excited to support this festival and be a part of it was really exciting. So everything was just leveled up, and I am looking forward to this being a long-standing Pittsburgh event. I promise I will do whatever I can to make sure that happens. What festivals have you attended? Let me know by hopping over into those comments so we can chat it up. And if you want some nostalgia, check out my video from the Greater Pittsburgh Festival of Books last year. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.